continue. Today's class. Usually, when school began, there was a great bustle, which could be heard out in the street. The opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison very loud, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. But now it was all so still. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their place, and Mr. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. But nothing happened. Mr. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you." I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. When I had got a little over my fright, I saw that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. But I was most surprised to see the village people sitting quietly on the back benches. Old Hauser, with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others besides. Everybody looked sad. While I was wondering about it all, Mr. Hamel mounted his chair and, in the same grave and gentle tone, he said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." What a thunderclap these words were to me. Oh, oh, oh! That was what they had put up at the town hall. My last French lesson. Why, I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn any more. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs or going sliding on the Saar. My books, that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And Mr. Hamel too. The idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Poor man, it was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes, and now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there, in the back of the room. It was because they were sorry too, that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our masters for his 40 years of faithful service and of showing their respect for the country that was theirs no more. While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. It was my turn to recite. I had not learnt my participles and so I could not say a single word. I heard Mr. Hamel say to me, "I don't scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, 'I have plenty of time, I will learn it tomorrow.' And now you see where we have come out. Ah, that's the great troubles with Alsace. She put off learning tomorrow. Now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, 'How is it? You pretended to be Frenchman, and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. But you are not the worst, poor little Franz. We have all a great deal to approach ourselves with. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They preferred to put you to work on a farm or at the mills so as to have a little more money. And I have been to blame also. Have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of making you learn your lessons?